Welcome back to Grit Gym. We're talking about pain and the gift of it today, which you need to frame in your mind. I know this is a hard thing to get across to people. Is like, what are you talking about, Adam? Like, the pain can't be a gift. Yes, it can if you listen closely and you listen in the right ways. And if you're interested in learning about how to do that for your individual circumstance, go to gritgym.com/SS, sign up for a strategy session. We can get on a call, or you can come out here to Grit Gym and we can sit down and we can figure out what your aches and pains are telling you, what your shoulder is telling you, what your movement patterns are reacting to that are giving you a signal to give you the pain, to get you to stop doing something that is happening in your body right now. Okay, so we're going to use the push-up as an example. And most of you really need to do, you really need to pull up your chest or to go to a more elevated position for your push-up. Most of you are dumping your shoulder forward, you're sinking at your low back, you're gaining the injury. Just like what we talked about yesterday, we're always getting a result. You're always getting a result no matter what you do. You sit on the couch, you get a result, okay? And so we have to look at this healing process from the standpoint of, if we let the body do its thing, it will be able to heal back. But if we don't do anything proactive, it's going to take longer, and we're not going to actually do anything. We're just going to delay the inevitable back to being an injury. Because if you just completely stop working out, doing all the things, you heal up, then you come back to doing all the things that you were doing before, you're going to just gain that injury back, right? So we need to change something. The injury was a gift. The injury was a signal. Okay, pain is not something like let's say the pain's in your shoulder. Well, that pain is not here. And this isn't like some like psychological flu nonsense. Like we know that the brain creates pain in order to get you to stop doing the thing. Okay, and they figured the guys from New Zealand that did all the research on pain is very interesting to listen to. He's got a TED Talk. I encourage you to go over there. But one of the things that they even did, they had people sit on a desk like this, put their arm through a hole in the desk, but there was a fake arm hanging out, and he would come into the room, pick up a knife, and stab their arm. And a high number, almost all of them, could feel the pain in their arm, even though it was a fake arm. Okay, there was another one where they would show a dial that said that the pain was going up, but there was no stimulus being added. People still felt the pain. Okay, pain is a signal. Okay, it is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a signal. We have to frame it as something to be grateful for, so that we can actually have a good attitude going into the injury. And then once we get into the injury, then we can start being like, okay, well, what do we need to know from this? All right. So for a push-up, most people setting up for a push-up and they're trying to go from the ground. And they don't need to be going from the ground. They need to elevate their chest like this, get something like a bar to hold on to, windowsill, something like that. They need to pull their shoulder blades into their rib cage. That doesn't mean squeeze your shoulder blades together. That means pull them into the rib cage, and then they need to keep their arms at about 30 degrees away from their torso. Okay? We don't want to suck the elbows in here. We don't want them clear out there. Okay? We want about 30 degrees between the torso and that upper arm. And as we're coming down, what we want to do is keep this posterior tilt like that to the shoulder. Okay, what most people do is they get down the bottom and they start dumping that shoulder forward, creating all this. So what's going on there, this bone and everything in the back there is pushing out against the front, the back side of the front of the shoulder. Okay, so all the tissue on the inside here is getting beat up over and over and over again. Okay, the more that gets beat up, the more you're going to build up into an injury. Remember, we always get a result. Okay, I see this all the time with shoulders. Okay, I see it with overhead pressing. People they get here and they just can't get it. They can't get it. So they sit back on the passive restrictions of their body. That and then that compresses something else, and that compression isn't good. And then that just leads to all these other bad things. So when you're doing a push-up, and if you're interested in learning more about this stuff, go to gritgym.com/SS, and it's much easier to talk to a person one-on-one and figure out what's going on with them. If it's a low back injury, well, we have to figure out, is it a hinge problem? Is it an SI issue? Is it a problem where you're going into split stance and you're like, well, I just have to keep on doing lunges and then I'll get better? Well, if you're going split stance and you have a little bit of an SI issue, you're pulling at that. You're just perpetuating the problem, which most people are doing with their injuries. Okay, so we're going to get on the bar and we want to posterior tilt that shoulder. Okay, so we don't want this, we want this. If we can't maintain this, we can't do a push-up from the floor, okay? You get here? No, that. Okay? The shoulder can't wing out. It's got to be here. Shoulder blades can't pinch together. They got to be apart, all right? So we got to get in that position. You should feel it right through the front of that rib cage. You should feel it in your upper back if you're doing things right. And you need to think about ripping the bar that I'm holding on to or the ground, you got to think of ripping that in half. So it's kind of like we want to externally rotate our hands and pull them apart at the same time, kind of like we're doing that motion, but we won't actually. So we're pulling apart, pulling in. Okay, get those shoulder blades in position, suck them in, and keep them there on your way down and come back up. Okay, the quality movement pattern is what's going to get you out of pain and keep you out of pain. The reason that you keep going back into pain is because you keep perpetuating the problem. That was a little bit of a tongue twister, but you see there's the spines a lot. Okay, we stop doing deadlifts, we stop doing lifting, we stop doing all this stuff. People say, okay, well, my back goes better. And then they go right back to lifting, and they do the same thing. They pull the bar off the ground like that, and it's like, well, we already had this problem. We already had this talk. We didn't change the source. The source was the movement pattern. If you put strength gain ahead of movement quality, you get neither. If you put movement quality ahead of strength gain, you get both. Okay, so we want to get that. We have to get that. And this is the gift. This is the gift of the pain. The pain is telling you exactly what's going on. You just have to learn how to listen. Okay? With my knee, I did not listen. With my foot, I did not listen. With my shoulder, I definitely didn't listen. With my elbow, didn't listen. With my wrist, I didn't listen. With my neck, I did not listen. With my low back, I didn't listen and ended up not being able to walk for a year. Okay? You do not want to get to that point. Okay? You do not want to get to that point. Okay? I was in physical therapy offices. I was with high-level doctors. I was with one of the guys that actually had that worked with me. He was one of the doctors that went over to Beijing for the Olympics, which was pretty cool, but I learned a lot from him. But anyway, the point is your body's telling you something. Pain is a signal. It's a very, very good thing. We want to feel pain. If you couldn't feel pain, you wouldn't know what was going on until it was way too late. Work with an MS patient or someone that has some kind of neuropathy, and they can't, or a diabetic, you know, they can't feel things that are going on in their body, and they end up getting like big blisters on their feet, or really damaging their tissues to the point where it's just like, oh my gosh, like that's awful, and they should have felt it a long time beforehand. You want that pain. The pain is a good thing, but we need to learn how to listen to it. If your shoulder is painful up front, we need to look at the alignment of the collarbone, look at the alignment of the shoulder blade. We need to be able to hold the shoulder in this position while we do a push-up. Otherwise, we don't need to be doing push-ups. Also, is bench press the right exercise for you? Not if you have shoulder pain. Are chin-ups and dips the right exercise for you? Not if you have shoulder pain. If you have shoulder pain, you're basically getting rid of those three. Maybe we add in push-ups. Maybe we go to a plank instead of a push-up, which is just a push-up is just a moving plank. We have to get the right exercise so that we can build stability and the movement pattern that we want, in order to lead the body where we want it to go. And where we want it to go is to not be in pain, right? The pain gave us a signal. We've got to learn from that signal. So when we're doing a push-up, butt tight, abs tight, pull the bar apart, externally rotate, get those shoulder blades sucked into the rib cage, pull yourself down, keep the elbows at about 30 degrees to the body, and then come back up and through. Okay? And when you come back up and through, you should push your upper back to the ceiling just a little bit more. If you've been following us a lot, you know that we do a lot of prone wall slides up against the wall. The reason for that is to get what we're talking about here with the push-up, is to get that serratus anterior and the upper back muscles, not these up here, the mid-low trap, to kick on in a way that pulls that shoulder blade around the rib cage the way that we want it to, so that the shoulder can actually stay in the position we want it to while we're doing all the lifts. And if it stays in the position we want it to while we're doing all the lifts, then we're going to get healthier because of that. But you have to do the right things in the right order, in the right ways. Okay, so with all of this stuff, is there a gift to the pain? Yes, there is. You have to listen to it. And if you're interested in learning more about what you can do for your individual circumstance, definitely go to gridgym.com and then /SS, gridgym.com/SS, and get signed up for your strategy session. That way we can sit down with you, we can look at, we can look at some different factors that could be going on with your shoulder, your low back, your hip, your knee. And 90% of the time, it's pretty clear. The other 10% of the time, it's obvious that you need to be referred out to a qualified professional, and don't think that those are all the same. But anyway, gridgym.com/SS, and let us help you out. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. See you then.